How's it going? Can you hear me all right? We are live. You are with JP Miller, Career Inclusive. I got Joy here and Justin. Can y'all hear me okay? All right, we coming through here? Yeah, all right, good. Oh, thanks for joining. Awesome. How you doing today, Joy? So today, last time we did this, I had like a 45-minute presentation that we went through, and I did most of the talking. Then we had a little Q&A session. And tonight, I'm really just hoping to talk to people on this live stream about your careers and where you're currently at. And I just want to give you advice. If you have a resume you want me to look at, or you have a LinkedIn profile that you'd like me to look at, I want to help you with that. I want to give you a live review and help you get a little bit further on the way to take your career to the next level. So that's the goal. Joy, you're the first one here. You want to put in the chat? If you want to put in the chat, tell me a little bit about yourself and where you're currently at in your career. And if you have a resume you'd like to share, you can share that with me at careerinclusive@gmail.com. And we'll pick that up. Or if you have a LinkedIn profile you'd like me to look at, you could drop that in the chat and I'll share my screen. We'll go over there and we'll work through it. So while we're waiting for something in the chat, I can vamp a little bit. Let's talk about the job search a bit. Let's talk about your resumes. Let's talk about what makes a good resume stand out. So I talk to a lot of people. I look at a lot of resumes every day. And awesome. You want to be a web developer? That's great. That's great, Joy. So how's that? How's your resume looking? What's your job search looking like? Talk to a lot of people and they don't understand really what a recruiter is looking for, what a hiring manager is looking for in a resume. And you got to really put your own mind in the mind of the employer, right? Person who is most likely to hire you. And think about yourself as an employer. If you were looking for an employee, what would you be looking for? What kind of a person would you be looking for? You want someone who's enthusiastic and eager. Yeah, we'll talk about your web developer career. Where are you currently at in your web developer career, Joy? So are you a fresh graduate? Are you looking for your first job? I'd like to know a few details. So web developer is really it's wide open. The market is increasing. There's still a large number of jobs. Currently, 50% of web developers have less than 5 years experience. So there's a big market. There's a lot of new people moving into this industry, even though the web has been around, in its current form, let's say since like 94, 95. And so there's an opportunity for you. As long as you have 60% of the skills that an employer is looking for, then you should be applying to the job. So you're looking for your first job. You've gone to university. You're in your final years at university. You're either looking for internships or you're looking for your first full-time job. And honestly, when you're looking for work, a lot of people get in this mindset, I've got to find an internship first, and then I've got to get my first full-time job. Maybe I do 2 internships, and then I can finally get a job, and then I can do that for 3 years, and then I can get like a mid-level or next step up. That's not necessarily the case. When you're looking for work, you can look for internships, you can look for part-time work, you can look for full-time work. That's not very as important What's important is that you can show that you can do the work, that you can get the job done. And so, yeah, you might be looking for an internship, but there's nothing stopping you from applying to a full-time job. And in the interview, you can let them know that you're a university student. Maybe you got another year left. Depending on your studies, how rigorous your schedule is, you might be able to work it out with that employer where you can work for them for 10 hours a week on a part-time basis. And then once you graduate university, you'll step in full-time. And you'll already have a job lined up. You'll already be familiar with all the people there and the code, the base that they're working with. You know the ins and outs. And so you'll just be ready to step right in there. And that can be a great fit. You gotta know what you want. You gotta know what industry you want to be in, kind of sub-industry you want to be in. The more focused you can be in your job search, the more detailed you can be. I want to be a web developer. Well, that's huge. I mean, that could be full stack. That could be full stack with front end focus. That could be full stack with a back end focus. That could even be software engineering if you go even broader. But let's say web developers tends to be more front end, so that could be PHP or JavaScript. And then JavaScript, you got a ton of frameworks. That could be Vue.js, React, Angular. Maybe one of the older frameworks that are still used in a number of enterprises. So if you know exactly what you want, hey, I want to be a React developer. Maybe you like design, so you go for React. Or maybe you like Google, you like Google's platform, you like Angular, and you like TypeScript. So I'm going to be an Angular developer. And then what kind of industry do you want to be in? There's tons of industries out there, and there's tons of sub-industries. Yeah, awesome. So you've been thinking about this. That's great, Joy. So full stack developer, focus on React, Django, Python, JavaScript. I got you, Joy. So that's awesome. You know that you want to be working with some Python, a little bit on the back end, a little bit on the front end with the Python, put in React, Django running the framework, and just maybe some vanilla JavaScript as well. And so that's good. Like you've got your stack. Okay, so now what industry do you want to be in? That could be like financial services, fintech, right? It could be ed tech. It could be ad tech, advertising and marketing. It could be energy. Okay, and then energy, you've got subsectors, right? You want to go in oil, you want to go into renewable, sustainable energies. It's that like solar, wind, hydro. Hey, Jen, welcome. So yeah, we're just talking about focusing your career and really narrowing down the type of work that you want to be doing in order to prepare for your job search so that you can create customized resumes and LinkedIn profiles to really attract the recruiters and the hiring managers that you're most interested in speaking with. And so the more you can focus, you can get yourself down to like, the industry you want to be in, the subsector you want to be within that industry, and you've got a good idea of what kind of technologies you want to be working with. Well, that right there, what that does, it eliminates a whole bunch of other jobs that aren't as relevant to you. I mean, they're out there and you could apply to them and you could get a job in those. But if you really want to be in sustainable energies, you want to be building interfaces for a decentralized energy grid. Okay, but then you get a job in ad tech. Well, you're not going to be happy in ad tech, right? And so a new job will be exciting. It'll be exciting for maybe 3 months, but then you know that you're not in the industry that you really desire to be in. And that's going to bog you down. Whereas if you know, hey, I want to be, in this example, sustainable energies, I want to help build a decentralized energy grid, energy 3.0, whatever you want to call it. And then you get a job in that. It might take you a little bit longer. Instead of maybe finding the first offer that comes along, you take that, you wait and you keep interviewing until you find that perfect opportunity. And maybe it does take you 4 or 5 months, which can be like that can be a stressful thing, but then you're in your industry, you're in the role that you really want to be in. And you'll find you have a higher level satisfaction. And so what you can do then, once you identify these details, you say, okay, what are the companies in this sector? and what are the companies doing? What are they doing? And what company is most aligned with my values and who I am as a person? As we often focus on interviewing for the company and showing the best presentation for ourselves or for them. But then we forget that, we're a person too. We're an entity as well. And you've got to satisfy this entity. We often focus on satisfying the corporate entity when we're looking for work. But then we forget that, hey, I'm a person, and at some point, my needs are going to start bubbling up again. So once I've got money coming in and I have comforts of a modern life, if I haven't taken care of that foundation and made sure that I'm in the right kind of company and the right kind of industry, then you're going to start feeling a bit disgruntled, right, and discontentment. And so you really want to take care of that foundation and really think hard and long about what it is you want to do, where you want to be. And once you've done that, it doesn't matter if you're looking for internships or part-time or full-time work. Like, just apply to anything, any company that you've identified as being the right fit for you, then you should just go for that. You look at their job board, and if they don't have anything, that's when you create a letter. You write a letter, and you write that letter for a hiring manager, which you can identify on LinkedIn, or you write it directly to the CTO or CEO if it's a small startup. You tell them exactly what you can do for them. This is a moment ago I said, hey, think about yourself as an employer, right? Put yourself in the shoes of the employer. Who are they going to hire? Would they rather hire the person that is just looking for a job, is just looking for something to do for the summer? Or would they rather, if given the choice, would they rather hire the person that has done their homework, has really thought about the industry that they want to be in, and can show the employer that, hey, I know what your pain is. I know what you're trying to accomplish in your sector. I know what your goals are, and I understand the industry, and this is what I can do for you. Who would you rather hire? Hands down, you would rather hire the person who has done their homework and shown that they can solve the specific pain. Oh, congratulations, Jim. So you've got a job interview with Zoox, Motion Planning Metrics. That's awesome. Cool. I've never heard of Zoox. I love the name though. That's fun. So as far as like my advice, just like general advice, is to study up on Zoox as much as possible. Right. So you've got this interview. They are interested in you at this point, right? Assuming this is your first interview. So if you can talk to the recruiter about, and maybe if it's tomorrow morning, it might be a little late to do this, but normally you can ask the recruiter, what kind of an interview is it going to be? What should I expect? Is it going to be behavioral? Am I just talking to like head of HR, or which you probably wouldn't be necessarily HR, but probably like, am I talking to a senior member of the team that I'd be working at? Or am I talking to, one of the product owners? Or is this going to be a technical interview where I'm sitting with some engineers and we're going to do some whiteboarding? Or am I solving some coding challenges? What should I expect? Just so you can start getting in the right mindset. So normally I would do that. Assuming you're going into this cold, you have no idea if it's behavioral interview. And if you do, Jen, go ahead and start typing in the chat. I'll pick it up, and I'll just pick up the conversation with you. If you have no idea what you're walking into, you've got to kind of be prepared for everything. And the best way to do that is to know the company as much as possible. So you should be studying any kind of blogs that they're writing, any kind of material that they have published, the marketing campaigns have created, anything that the CEO has wrote about, or that other journalists maybe have wrote about the company or the CEO or the CEO or the COO. Right, so you can get a sense of what they've done. Look everyone up on LinkedIn. If you know who you're going to be interviewing with, look them up on LinkedIn. Check out what their past is. What have they done in the past? What are their interests? And it's not that you're going to be like patronizing them, to show like, oh, I like the same things that you like. You want to be genuine. Are you just trying to get a sense of who these people are as a person, and then also like who they are together as a company? So you really want to look at like Zook's webpage, really check that out, take a deep dive into that, study that. They've got blogs, they've got news articles, read that as much as possible. And then for technical interviews, there's the Hacking the Coding interview. It's an excellent book, great resource. There's LeetCode, Katas, Code Wars. You probably already know those things, and I'm guessing you're probably already doing those things. It's just kind of like a basic best practice. If you have a few more details for me, Jen, I'd be happy to hear those details and provide a little more context there for you. Okay, cool. So great. So it's not coding interview. So you're looking at behavioral interviews, and the STAR method is very common. So when you're asked behavioral questions, these are like, what kind of, tell me about a time when you had to work with a difficult employee, or tell me about a time when you had multiple deadlines that you needed to meet, right? So you'll get those kind of questions. And so you have a STAR method. You might be familiar with this already, but the STAR method it's an acronym. This has been a while since I've used this acronym. Let's see if I still got it. So you're going to explain the situation in about 30 seconds. So you kind of like set the picture, right? You're creating the setting. Okay. And then T is your tactic. So what action did you start taking? Not necessarily the action, but what was your plan that you laid out in order to overcome the obstacle? And then the A is the action. And this is where the bulk of your action is going, the bulk of your answer is going to be. So you're going to focus on what you did. This is not the time to be humble, right? This is not the time to be bashful. If you accomplished the theme that you're talking about with a team, give honor to the team, but focus on what you did. What was your part of that team? Without you, the team wouldn't have succeeded, right? So what did you do specifically? And then how did your team work together? How did you work with all these other people to make the thing happen? And then R is the result. And you always want to wrap up with a result. Oftentimes the result's left away. And so you get the average interviewer will use like a STA method, and they'll forget the R, they'll forget the result. But you always want to back up your answer with an R, with a result. Positive result, never a negative result. It's just to make that clear, right? You never want to go down a negative rabbit hole in your interview. So it should be very positive result. This is what the result of the action was. This is what the result of everything that we did together, and this is how we made it happen. Okay, and just expect, probably 45 minutes worth of that. And you'll get the opportunity to ask questions, and you should always ask questions. You should have questions prepared. Great questions are, tell me about what you did yesterday. So the alternative to that, the more common one is, what's your day-to-day like? Which is a vaguer question, which gets a vaguer answer. So you don't get as strong of a sense of what a day at the job is like. And this is a good question for if you're asking for like a peer or maybe someone who's one step senior to you. Right? So you start to get a good, strong sense of what it's like to be there day by day. So you might ask, what did you do yesterday? What was yesterday like for you? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So anytime you can quantify, just kind of stepping backwards a little bit, talking about the results again. Always want to quantify your results. Thanks for asking that, Justin. That's great. So yeah, what if you accomplished something, what was the result? I'll give you an example. I could say, so I worked with a team. We had a very difficult client who was very hard to please. They wanted everything cheaper and a faster time and the highest quality possible. And that was very stressful for the team. And so what we did is we identified with the client what were absolutely the most important elements for this project. What was the most important thing, like the most three important things to the client. And then we set the client's expectations. We said, look, we can do these three things inside the allotted time. And then once we have that, then we can go back and we can do a phase two. We got the client to sign off on that. Okay, so then that's your situation. And then T, your tactics. Okay, so me and my team, I was the engineer on the team. We had a designer, we had a marketer, and we had a project manager. So we looked at the whole situation. We broke up tasks according to everybody's strengths. And then we had bi-weekly, twice a week meetings over the next 3 weeks. We pushed the project along. Whenever we had a hiccup, we helped each other, even though like design may not be my strongest strength. I'm versed in design. And so if the designer needed some extra help, I was right there with the designer helping them. Okay, and then like the designer was helping the marketer with their situation. And my project manager helped me on some of the engineering when either I got stuck or because I was helping the designer that I needed a little extra help. And so my project manager, I just communicated to him and said, hey, I need some help, or I'm going to miss the deadline and I want to miss the deadline. So what can we do? And so you're showing how you can communicate and how you can communicate about the importance of deadlines. So you're like dropping all these little hints along the way, showing what a strong communicator you are and how you can work in a team and really stretch yourself. You know, to like stretch yourself outside of your comfort zone. Okay, so that's the tactics, that's the T. Okay, and that kind of gets into the A as well. So you just talk about a little, maybe expound a little more on the action. You know, the challenging part I found about that was that the client, it seemed like they wanted to check in nearly like every other day. And thankfully, we had a really talented project manager who was able to deal with that and really sheltered us from a lot of those experiences that they had to deal with. And so I was really able to focus on the code and work very well with my designer to create a really beautiful user interface, you know, that actually exceeded the client's expectations. And so together, the four of us, we were able to, and so now you're starting to get into the result, we were able to build this beautiful product that actually exceeded the client's expectations, to surprise them even, and everyone is happy. Okay, so that would be very common, but what if we quantify that? So that's good, right? But then you can say, oh, we exceeded the client's expectations so much that they re-upped with us and they signed on for another $500,000 contract because our team did such an outstanding job. And we closed a day before deadline, which actually, like if you counted all that up, saved our company another like $20,000 in costs and labor. And usually projects actually end up running over. And so compared to the other projects and the other teams that were running, we were like 75% more efficient than the other teams in the company at that point, which is really amazing. Right? That translated to like $55,000 in savings. And so like all told, we created like $600,000 worth of profits for our company just off that one client who had started like as a really difficult client. Okay, so now what you've done is you've shown this potential employer that you can help them make $500,000, right, on one project, right, over like a 3 or 4 week span. So that's huge. Okay, and now what that does is sets you up for a strong negotiations, right? So when they make an offer to you, if you're not satisfied with that offer, and you should always at least try to negotiate at least one round, you know, and then you can start pulling those up. You know, I was able to save my previous employer $600,000 off just one project. You know, it was just like the one we talked about over like a year. It turned out to be like millions of dollars that we helped create in profits and revenue for my company. And so then you can leverage that, right? So if you can say like, well, yeah, I saved this employer millions of dollars, so you can afford to pay me $100,000 because I'm going to make you more than that many times over. Whereas if you don't have those kind of quantities, you might not have a whole lot to stand on, and maybe you're taking a like $60,000 or $75,000 salary, right? Which is more like your average. So if you can show through quantities, the quantified results, show that you're above average and that you have above average outcomes, well, then you can demand an above average salary. Right on. So let's see. Yeah, just kind of going back here to Joy's last comments, that employers are looking for someone who can do the best for the company, and not only the best, but have a clear vision of what the company wants and can communicate that they understand. All right, so that's great. Yeah, what else do you have? I hope that helps you, Jen. If you have a follow-up question, please feel free to type that in. Same Joy, if you got a follow-up question, I'd love to hear it. If you want me to look at your resumes, I'd be happy to do that. It looks like, Jen, if you're getting interviews, then you've got a resume that at the very least gets you interviews, right? And so that's a really good sign. Yeah, absolutely, Jen. So my email is careerinclusive@gmail.com. Or if you, yeah, that's probably the best way to do it. Just send that to me and I'll pull it up. Yes, careerinclusive@gmail. And let me get that pulled up here. That's a great question, Joy. While we wait for Jen's resume to pop up here. How can I be a good communicator? And maybe you don't feel confident in this, and like anything, there's not necessarily a secret, but it's just a lot of practice. So do talk quite a bit about confidence in our previous video series on this channel at Career Inclusive. And so you might want to check that out. And I hope that you would find benefit in that. If part of your communication troubles are regarding confidence, then definitely check those out. A lot of great communicators, a lot of great public speakers actually start out as people who don't like to speak in public or may be extreme introverts. There are a lot of public speakers who are introverts. And so any personality can be a good communicator. The thing to remember is that communication is in the ears of the listener. All right, it's often said we've got two ears and one mouth, and we should use them in the same proportion when communicating, right? And the idea there is that we often, yeah, and that's fine, Joy. A lot of extreme introverts are incredibly successful people. Some of the greatest guitarists in the world, for example, are extreme introverts. And so how do they get so good at playing the guitar? Well, they just like sit in a room all day, and for 8 hours a day, they just play the guitar. And just through like sheer number of hours and always pushing themselves to be a bit better, they become some of the most famous rock stars in the world. And so in the same way, as an engineer, you don't necessarily need to change who you are, right? So there's being introverted and there's like being shy or bashful, and those are not the same thing. Introverted people can be very gregarious and outgoing, right? Just because you're introverted doesn't mean that you've got to be shy. You just got to find your voice. You need to find your voice. Okay, and if you're having trouble finding your voice, then you can ask yourself why. What's the fear? There's a fear there, more than likely. Maybe you're afraid that people ignore you. Or maybe you have been ignored in the past. You'll say something and no one will hear it. And then someone else will say the same exact thing. And then everyone's like, oh, that's a great idea. We should do that. Right? I've been there. I've been that person. Right? And that's like the worst. It's absolutely the worst. Sometimes you see these memes, right? You see like a screenshot, someone sharing something, and then someone else shared that post, and they've got like 10x the engagement. And they're just resharing the post. It happens all the time. And it doesn't have to be you, right? Just because it's happened in the past doesn't mean that it's always got to happen. Just got to practice using your voice. This might be just like 30-second diversion. I once knew a guy who was very shy, a very like soft-spoken voice. You would almost have to like lean in to hear him. And then one day he was on the phone with his brother and he was just talking like a normal person, like I'm talking to you right now. And like the change was like night and day. He spoke clearly, he enunciated clearly. And so it was really about his comfort level, right? Like it's almost like he was ashamed to use his voice around people outside of his family. I'll check, Jim. Let's see. It hasn't come through yet. And so you need to find your voice. And like Justin said, you got to put in the work, practice. I talk about some exercises that you can do to exercise your voice, like you running through scales. It sounds funny, but like stepping on a stone to like find your placement. And you can go back in those video series and see that. Just talk. You just got to talk and practice, and you know, and know that part of. Sometimes we're ignored, and that's just kind of like part of it. Sometimes that happens, but just get up, right? I like the quote, the Japanese proverb, fall 7, rise 8. And it's the same thing with communication. Let's see. I don't see your resume yet, Jen. Let me just type my email in here just in case there was a miss here. All right, I believe I got that. Yep. Okay, so you can double check that and make sure you got the resume to the correct address. Yeah, I don't see that there. Okay, and then just send it to me again. Otherwise, what we'll do is if you have it on Google Docs, you can just share the file to that email address through your Google Docs, and I should get a notification. Just be sure you notify me on that. Joy, did that help you with communication? I know it's just a lot of work, man. You've just got to like practice talking in a mirror. You know, if someone saw you doing it, they might think you're crazy, but you just got to put in that work. Like doing scales, you know, like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. You can do scales in front of the mirror and go up and down the scale and just like practice using your voice from the diaphragm. You know, from that, what they call the solar plexus. You want to speak from right there, like just below where your ribs meet. And use the strength of your voice. You have a strong voice in there. And practice with people that you love and people that love you, people that won't judge you. And if the people that you love, they do mock you, then you know, find new friends or find a mirror and put in the work. We often rise to the expectations of the people around us, and so if people expect us to be the shy, bashful person who has trouble communicating, then that's often what we'll become. And so what you want to do is put yourself in new environments where people don't really know you, and just present yourself as a new person. And this will lead us into a conversation about your personal brand. You know, I talk to a lot of people who have trouble creating a strong personal brand. Like I'm talking to engineers here today, right? But like Joy, you said at first, you said you're a university student and you want to be a web developer. Okay, thank you, Joy. I'll look for it. I've got my email up, so it should pop up here in a second. So you're not a university student, you're a web developer, right? So this is like a small change in your personal brand. So instead of telling people that you're a university student and that you want to be a web developer, just tell people that you're a web developer. I got the resume. And you will be seen as a web developer, right? Because people will take you at your word. And so if you've created a brand that you don't really like with the people around you, then find new people. Put yourself in new situations. It might feel awkward at first, but just embrace the weirdness. Yeah, I used to do improvisational acting, and we had a saying that if it's weird, do it more. So it's just like embrace the weirdness. No, I got your resume. It's right here. All right, I'm going to share my screen. We'll take a look at this. So let's see here. Do I do that on YouTube's? Here, I want to push a button and end it. Now, as a share live stream. I want to edit it. Now let's see. No, it can be done. I'll fiddle this for a second. Otherwise, I'm going to just walk through it with you, and then I'll cut it in for future videos. Let's see. Yes, I'm not seeing a share video option. All right. I'm not going to bore you with my ineptitude here, but we'll figure it out, and we'll have a solution for the next time we do this. All right. So Jen, I'm just going to talk to you about your resume, which looks pretty good, honestly. And what I'll do, Jen, is I'll make a video with your resume. I can just like block out your personal information, and I'll make a video for you, and I'll share that with you, and then I'll publish it on my channel too, your anonymized version. Okay, so Jen, and I'm sorry, no one else can see this, but Jen, you can look at this with me, and we'll just like go through this in about 60 seconds here. Overall, very strong resume. This is easy to read through. It's got a strong organizational structure. Your headings are all centered, and that's fine. Your headings can be all left aligned or centered. Either way is fine. This is super easy for me to read, and to me, like, it looks like you're an engineer. Like, I'm just looking at it. It's very organized. I see Udacity self-driving car. I see some Coursera stuff. I see research and software engineer, and then application engineer. And so I can say, Jim Park, he's an engineer. Like, that's my initial impression looking at your resume in 5 seconds. And that's about how much time a recruiter is going to give your resume. And so it's really, really good to like find someone who can look at your resume and tell you what their initial impression is. Okay, so you got some skills there. Always run your skills by JobScan. That's jobscan.com. It's 2 words in one, right? So jobscan.com, one word. Oh, so you would take this resume and compare it to your job description that you're looking at. And then if you run through all of the free trials that JobScan gives you, just open up your cookies, remove the cookies, and go back at it. Or open a incognito window and use JobScan with incognito. And then when you run out of cookies, just close it and reopen one. But definitely do that. And the best resumes, if you can get your resume to match 80% to the job description, then you're sure to get past ATS. That can be a bit tricky at times, especially because they want to load you up with a lot of keywords. And so I would say, like, if you can get around 60% range and then start reaching out to the employers and to the hiring managers. And we'll talk about that here next. Okay, education section is a little long, but it's okay given where you're at currently. Sometimes I do like to show a project section, but you've got 3 work experience entries as an engineer. And so I don't feel like you're really hurt by not having a project section for this resume. After like your next job, you get a job as a self-driving car engineer or autonomous engineer. Then you might want to add a project section. Maybe we don't need to show quite as many of these certifications from like, of course, like I'm trying to look and see like what's not relevant, but most of the stuff that looks relevant, you've got your bachelor's, your master's, going through a PhD. I mean, this is very impressive. It's very impressive. I would want to talk to you, right? I would want to talk to you. And your patents and the papers, that looks good. I would say on your work experience, on your current work experience, that Jan 2017 to, let's put like present or current. It's just a theme, but what I like to put present for the work experience, and I like to put current for education. If that's the case, you like what you've done, or you put like 2021. You know, we could assume you're already done or you're about to be done. So what you've done for dates in education is great. But in work experience, I would definitely put present on the other side of that Jan 2017. And then quantify bullets. So just in general, just like quantifying your accomplishments using that STAR method with the behavioral interviews, we want to quantify your bullets. Okay, so here's a bullet. Conducted Samsung self-driving car SVP project. Okay, that's cool. You've got a couple names there. But what else? What was the result of that? I want to know what the result of that was. Tell me the result. Tell me a quantified result. What was the result of conducting a self-driving SVP project? Okay, if you can include that in like, if you can give me a result in like 5 to 6 words, then you've got a much stronger resume. Develop network anomaly detection solution. What was the solution? What was the result of the solution? Did you reduce like 90% of the bugs by doing that? Did you increase efficiency? Like in this case, did you increase the autonomous function of the vehicle by so much percentage points? Like, tell me that. You can guesstimate. It's very common to not know the exact number, and that's okay. Try to guesstimate. You know, don't go too far outside the ballpark. Don't get to where your exaggerations start to become lies. Don't be so bashful that it doesn't mean anything. Try to like guesstimate as accurate as possible. And like the older entry, developed drone localization autopilot navigation software. What was the result of that software? Like, was it 100% effective? Could the drones follow someone 100% of the time flawlessly, like without running into a tree? You know, so you could say like 100% flawless. Okay, so just look for ways to add those in. I'm sorry, I couldn't figure out how to share my screen here. I will get that. I will figure out how to do that. We're working on getting some equipment for the next run, so that we can have a better setup here. Okay. What else would you like to talk about? I know there's something that I was about to get into, and it's kind of slipped my mind. Talked about quantities in bullet points, and talking about quantify results in your interview questions and answers. The reason that we can talk about projects a bit and showing and talking about projects, the reason that's important for STEM professionals, for engineers and technologists, is that it offers proof of your abilities. It offers proof of technical ability. And so to go back to say, like, okay, what if you were in the shoes of the employer, who would you be hiring? Well, you want to hire someone that's got strong indications or strong indicators of employability. And so some strong indicators of employability is an organized resume, is past experience, is like all the obligatory educational checkboxes. And then another one might be relevant projects. So proof of performing similar tasks that you're going to be doing at this job, right? If I'm talking to someone like, hey, I'm a career coach, I can help you. They want to see proof of that. Show me some past work. Show me your portfolio. You're an engineer. I'll say, okay, you're an engineer. You're in self-driving cars. Show me your portfolio. I want to see proof of that. And so you should have a portfolio that's jam-packed with proof. So you may not be able to talk about it. You should have such a portfolio that you can't talk about it all in a resume, right? But you'll have a link to like your GitHub or your own online portfolio, jimpark.com or jimpark.sk, and you can direct employers there so they can see that work. Let's talk for a bit about so you got the interview, so that's great. What happens after? And Joy's going to be looking for interviews. Joy wants to be in this position where he's getting interviews. So you target your company, you target the industry and the companies that you want, and then you build a resume using JobScan that's very targeted. You write a cover letter that's very targeted and shows that you can meet and solve the pains of the employer, right? So we've done those things. And now you've sent your resume out. Okay, so when you send the resume out, then what you do is you find the hiring manager on LinkedIn. Okay, so you go to LinkedIn's page, you find the company, you can search by people and the company name through the filters, and you can see who is registered on LinkedIn that works at this company that you're interested in. All right, oftentimes there's not a job called hiring manager. It's usually like a senior manager or like a CTO, depending on the size of the company. But what you can do, right, is you can call, assuming they have an office, assuming they have a number, then you can call and you can ask about the new job and you can ask who is the hiring manager for this job, who's owning this job, and who's owning the candidacy. Okay, and so you find that name and then you reach out to them on LinkedIn. If you're a LinkedIn Premium member, then you can send them an email. If you're not, then what you can do, that's fine. What you can do is you can send a connection request, a custom connection request. And when you click connect on someone on LinkedIn, you have the option of adding a note. And so you always want to do this when you're connecting with someone on LinkedIn. You always want to add a note because your engagement rates will be much, much higher. And in your note, you say, hi, I'm Jin or I'm Joy, and this is a perfect opportunity. I saw this opportunity and I'm the perfect candidate for this job because, I've done my homework and I can solve this pain. You've got like 300 characters. This is a very quick note. So this is like dot, dot, dot. And remember with a hiring manager, they're going to be very goal-oriented, very results-oriented. So you might say greetings, but then you're just right into it. This is what I can do for you. I hope you have the opportunity to look at my resume. Thank you. Okay, and then you can send an email. Most emails are pretty easy to crack. Like, give me 10 startups, and I can probably guess the email of the CEO of at least 5 of those startups. Right? Because usually it's just the first name. It might be a name dot last initial, at the website, but they're very easy to crack. As if in most cases, if you know one person's email at that company, then you can figure out almost everyone else's email at that company. And so figure out their email and send it to them. And the great thing about email is that if you guessed wrong, who's going to reply to you? Your old friend Mailer Damon, right? And say, that wasn't it. Let me try a different version. But chances are it's only going to be like 1 of 4 different versions or 4 varieties. And this email is going to be very short, very to the point. You send it like about 5 days later after you send that connection request. And it's going to kind of reiterate in about 3 to 4 sentences exactly what you can do for the employer. All right, this is who I am. I'm an engineer. You're not going to say I'm a university student, right? You're going to say I'm an engineer. I'm a full stack developer. I'm an autonomous engineer. And this is what I can do for you. So the way you brand yourself is very important. As what you tell people that you are is what they'll believe you to be. And then at that point, you want to try to create 7 connection points, right? So you've got your resume, you've got that initial LinkedIn request, you've got an email, you might have a phone call. And then what you can also do is reach out to other employees, possibly peers and colleagues, so other engineers, or maybe a senior engineer, and you reach out to them and you can talk to them, you can have a conversation. People love to talk about themselves. So be interested in other people and they will become interested in you. People love to talk about themselves and they love people who are interested in them. And so it's not that you're doing this with disingenuousness. Like you should honestly want to get to know this person, right? Because you've already done your homework, that you know you want to be in a company, this company, or a company like it, right? And so you sincerely, you really want to be in this company or company like it, which means that you sincerely want to work with people like the people who are at those companies, right? And so it's part of this is you're doing your homework, you're building a network, you're talking to other engineers. And then once you've built this rapport, and you've gotten to know them, and you've created this like foundation of a network, you can present yourself. Which you will have already introduced yourself as like an autonomous engineer or full stack engineer. And you say, I've learned so much about you. This is really amazing. I wonder if you would have a moment to look at my portfolio. And I would love to hear what you think about the work that I've completed. And then you just share the link. Most people will give you a look at that point when you establish a relationship. Because like I want to like reciprocate, right? And they'll tell you what they think of it. Oh, that's really nice. It's really good. They might have a suggestion. If they do, work on that suggestion, complete it as fast as you can, right? And then come back to them. Oh, thanks for that suggestion. I looked into that and I did that. And actually, I saw that. That was really great. I wish I had thought of it myself. Thank you so much. And then, hey, now that you've seen my portfolio and you like my work and you know a bit about me, would you be willing to refer me to your hiring manager? Would you talk to your hiring manager for me? Would you talk to, and now you know their name, right? So you can say, will you talk to so-and-so and ask them. And so now you've got another connection point and you've got someone on the inside who's referring you, which is golden. 80% of people find work through someone that they know. And so you're almost guaranteed an interview. And at the interview, you've got to be sharp as a tack. You've got to be enthusiastic as hell. And you've got to be very incredibly knowledgeable. You got to be an expert. You've got to impress them within like the first 4 seconds. And if you can do that, and then you are intelligent, you can speak intelligently through the entire interview, you'll almost be guaranteed to be welcomed back for a second interview, and then a third interview. And then, if you've played all your cards right, and someone else doesn't come in with like 10 more years of experience or education, that things that are beyond our control, then you'll receive an offer. And sometimes it does happen that we look great on paper, and we look great in the interview, and we make a strong impression, and everything feels right. And then someone else comes along who has like 5 more years of experience than we do. Or someone comes along who's not as good of a negotiator, and they're willing to work for less. And those things are just outside of our control. There are so many factors outside of our control. You just stay on your game and do those things, and you do those things enough times. And because you're focused, you won't have to do them too often usually. You will find your place. Well, after I talked for quite a bit there, does anyone have any questions? I hope this is helpful to you. I hope you're finding this valuable. My goal is that I can help you succeed, that I can help you get further in your career. And if we can do that together, then I'll fulfill my mission. So I wonder if there are any other questions. I see that there's a couple other people here. Maybe they're still here. If you've been silent up to now and you've got a question or you've got something that you'd like me to talk about, I'll be happy to continue talking to you if there are other things that I can help you with. So we'll just give it a couple minutes for something new in the chat. If someone does have something, if you found this valuable today and you receive value here, Jin says he wants to transition across industries from electronics to STC. It's like pursuing a whole new career. What situation do you think I would face with a career? Yeah, so there's like an expression of like if three aspects of a career is like geography, industry, and occupation. And if you're going to change these things, then you should only change one at a time. Right. So assuming, Jin, you're in the same geographic area, right? South Korea. Oh, by the way, South Korea was just named the most innovative country in the world. Congratulations. That's very exciting. I'm very jealous as an American. We just got booted from the top 10. So that's, sad for me, but good for you, Jin. So congratulations to your country on that. That's very exciting. Okay, so you're in a very innovative country, like it's pro right there. Your transition, you may or may not be in the same industry, okay, and you are changing occupations a little bit. It's not like you're not going from like being an accountant or a truck driver to now you want to be, in self-driving car, autonomous engineering, right? So it's not like you're taking this a very big step. Right? And people do that, and you can absolutely do that. You're going from electrical engineering, research engineering, application engineering to self-driving car, autonomous engineering. So like you're still an engineer. You've been an engineer. You're pursuing this PhD. You've got your other certifications. So again, it's just about your personal brand, Jin. This is about talking about who you are as a person, as a professional. And so you're just going to start introducing yourself now as a self-driving car, autonomous engineer, and whatever you want to call yourself. I think like autonomous engineer in the automotive industry, right? That might be a little simpler. Or you can say, like, I'm a self-driving car engineer, focused on what's your focus in that area. Are you focused on like LiDAR, camera, or cruising speeds, pedestrian detection, and if you don't have that kind of a focus, like that super niche focus, that's fine. You don't have to have that. It's just a lot about what you talk about yourself. And while some of the aspects might be new, like you have been an engineer, and so you know the lingo already, right? That goes far. And look, I mean, you're getting interviews, and so maybe there's just some confidence there that you need to work on. If you're feeling some imposter syndrome, remind yourself of everything that you have accomplished. If you've been working and you're putting in the work, and like you're getting your master's degree and you're going out for a PhD and you're doing all these projects and you're bending over backwards to be the best you can be in your career, you're not an imposter. You are doing the work. And if you're feeling like an imposter, you just need to acknowledge it. Acknowledge that sometimes you feel like you're not good enough. Acknowledge that almost everyone feels that way, and then let it go. Right? And then let it go. And remind yourself of everything that you have accomplished to this point. There's nothing stopping you from being an autonomous engineer now. You've been studying for it. You did your self-driving car nano degree as an example, right? You're finding ways to improve your skills. You took the certification with Coursera. And Toronto University is nothing to sneeze at, right? I'm glad, Jin. I'm really glad that means something to you. Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. This is what we're here for. This is what we're doing. You've been taking all these courses on. Like, I'm just looking at your resume here. Melbourne University, discrete optimization, IBM professional, applied advanced data science. Like, these are relevant. These are relevant steps, and you've been doing this for the last 2 to 3 years, right? And so you have been preparing yourself for this time, been preparing yourself for this moment, right? And so you are an autonomous engineer. Look, a lot of people, they forget that they are who they are intrinsically. It's not extrinsic. It doesn't, like, you can be an engineer who works in their own workshop and no one pays you for that, but you're still an engineer. And why? What makes you an engineer? Because you do the work. You do. You don't have to be paid. to be a thing, right? In our society, we attach so much to money, and there's pros and cons to that, right? It is what it is, but doesn't make you who you are. Just because you're not paid to do something doesn't mean that you're not that person. Right? So you are an autonomous engineer because why? Because you've prepared yourself to be. Because you've taken all these certifications, you've gone through all these courses and all these classes. You've put in the labor. And that makes you an autonomous engineer. It doesn't matter that you haven't found someone to pay you to be the thing yet, right? Or to do the work. You already are. You already are. And so now someone will pay you to be. Wisdom I received from my father when I was young. He said, "Hey, do you want to make?" I was like 16. So he's like, "You want to make $15 an hour? Then you've got to work like you make $15 an hour." In the same way, you want to be an autonomous engineer, you've got to work like you're an autonomous engineer. In your mind, you're already an autonomous engineer. In your mind, you're already a self-driving car engineer, right? So like you're no longer a university student, even though you might be finishing your last semester or whatever, right? But you're a full stack developer today. Yeah. Yeah. If anyone else has got something that they like to talk about, I'll keep talking. I'll keep talking to you all. If you got something else that you want to put in the chat here. So as I was saying, if you found value in this and you found this helpful and this conversation today gets you further down the road, we do have PayPal. We do have a Patreon. Those links should be in the description. Patreon is patreon.com/career inclusive. Thank you, Justin. I'm glad that this has been helpful. Thank you. The PayPal, I believe it's paypal.com/mypaypal/JP Miller. I know it ends in JP Miller. That's me. If you found this valuable to you and you found this information valuable to you and you want to make a donation, I would greatly appreciate your donation. Career Inclusive, just to talk about Career Inclusive for a moment and what this is about, what we are about, what I am about, is that my whole goal is to create inclusive communities of engineers, of scientists, technicians, mathematicians. I want to create a place where all people, if they've got the skills, they put in the labor, they put in the hard work, and they put in the proof in the portfolio that they can become an engineer, they can become a mathematician, they can have a role in STEM. Right. So I want to create more equity in the industry, more, to close the gap, so to speak. There's some gaps in STEM that we need to close, and Career Inclusive is about promoting solutions, and I'm about promoting solutions. So my goal in this is that I can help people get further along in their careers, and I hope that you will be able to pass that along, right? That if I'm able to help you, that one day you'll be able to help others. And by doing that together, we create a community. We create a community that upholds one another with the mentality, the abundance mentality, that a rising tide raises all ships. And that's what I'm about. That's what Career Inclusive is about. I've been thinking about Career Inclusive for a long time, since 2018, like 3 years now. I've been doing this work for more than 5 years now as a career coach, as a reviewer of resumes and LinkedIn profiles. And at this point, I've looked at more than 10,000 resumes. I've seen more than 10,000 LinkedIn profiles, roughly speaking. I've helped more than 10,000 people get a little bit further in their career. And so what I do is I have programs where I work with people on a one-on-one basis. You get like this kind of access to me every week or every other week. And we go through and we look at your situation specifically. I'll help you with your focusing on your brand, focusing on the industry, focusing on who you want to be as a professional, help you figure out what your values are, and identify habits to accomplish your goals that you can practice every day to get faster, right? To get your goals, to accelerate your career. So you don't necessarily need to wait for permission from someone else to be the person that you want to be and be the professional that you know you are. So I spent so much of my life waiting for permission from others to do the things that I wanted to do And as a result, I missed on so many opportunities in my life, right? When it's like the irony of it is, this is my life. This is your life, right? This is the life that you're living. So we don't need to wait for permission from someone else to be the theme, right? And so many of us are frustrated because we want to be an engineer, or we want to be a self-driving car engineer, or autonomous engineer. But it's hard for us to find someone to pay us to do the thing, right? Especially at first. It's really like that first opportunity. It's difficult. And that creates a struggle because in our minds, our value is tied to our worth, our net income. But I want to help you recognize that you don't need anyone's permission to be who you want to be and to be the person that you truly are inside. So don't wait for anyone's permission. You already are. You already are engineers. You already are full stack developers. You put in the work. You put in the tears, put in the late nights of studying. You've already put in the weekends where you stayed home when all your friends are going out, or you put away the controllers and you didn't play the video games for months because you wanted to study and you wanted that more than anything else. And it has made you who you are today. Well, I haven't seen anything new in the chat here in a minute. So we'll wrap this up. If anyone's got a last minute theme, go ahead and get in there quick. If I see something, I'll keep talking to you, but otherwise we'll call it a night. It's been a little more than an hour here, and this has been great. If you want to be connected, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I know that I already am connected with a couple of you, like Jin and Joy. I believe we're already connected. Yeah, we're already connected on LinkedIn. There's a couple other people here maybe who didn't take part in the chat. You want to be connected with me, look me up on LinkedIn, Career Inclusive. You can like our page on LinkedIn. We're also on Facebook. And let's be in touch. And if you want to talk more about working closer, I'd be more than happy to do that with you. Okay, well, let's call this a night, or let's call it a day. So I wish you all a good night, wish you all a good day, and be well, and look forward to the next time we can be together like this. Thank you all.